Happy New Year, everyone, from RPadTV. I'm Raymond. Today, I'm joined by the excellent Marcus Beer on the top left, and the also excellent, but in a very different way, Paul Semel on the top right. And today we're going to talk about What If Season 3, the third and final season of What If on Disney+. But before I get to that, Happy New Year to you both. How are you all doing? I think we're beat up in different ways. Marcus, what's going on?
Oh, old.
Yeah.
It's where you pop a muscle in your back just taking a piss, basically. These things happen. So yes, it was a lovely holiday season. We had 6 weeks of it. We went to New York earlier in November, and we just carried all the way through. And now it's over, and it was lovely. And I'm ready to crack on with 2025 and all that brings.
Yes. And you,
hopefully
Paul,
a league title.
It's looking good for you guys, but Arsenal, you never know with those guys. Like Arsenal.
Arsenal.
How about you, Paul? You discovered some new restaurants?
Yeah, I went. Not always new. I went down to the Apple Pan, which is for people in LA know it's an iconic burger joint.
Yes.
Although the nice thing is now they have a back patio area. Like it used to be, you really didn't want to go there with another person because you never sit together because they just had the one little counter inside. But I guess during the pandemic, they took over the back parking area, and now there's like this big open area back there. So it was really nice. And then I went to Beard Papa because again,
it's you.
Yeah, So
you love Beardy Papa. By the way, I love the custard, the custard filled ones. They're just plain custard. Just
so good.
Yeah, the one I ate today it had honey butter on top, and it was the vanilla custard.
Ooh,
and then I saved one for tomorrow, which is the Oreo topping with chocolate custard.
Yeah, I don't like when they get too complex like that. I like the straight up custard and not too much weirdness going on there. But.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan putting the Oreos on there because Oreos are fucking disgusting. American Oreos are a crime against cookies. Ironically, if you have the British Oreos, they taste better because the ingredients are actually better.
Yeah,
don't you believe that?
No, I do believe that.
I do believe that completely. Yeah.
Like if you want an Oreo style cookie, I think the Trader Joe's one is much better than actual Oreos. Like not even close.
They do have a gluten-free Oreo though that helps. Those celiac people who at a pinch would just crave one. So the missus has a pack up the back, but she knows I won't touch it because it tastes like crap.
Yeah, it's not really chocolate as much as it's like a brown substance kind of thing.
Brown chocolate based substitute.
Yeah. So Paul, as always, I want an update on your website and what's going on there.
Right. Well, it's slow. Was the end of the year, but I put up a story earlier this week. It was an interview with an author named Alexander Darwin, who has a new science fantasy novel called Blacklight Born, which is the third. There we go. It's actually the third book in a trilogy. And what was kind of interesting in our conversation is he said that in this world, when two countries go to war, it's not like, when we go to war and it's all out and blah, blah, blah. They literally settle it through one-on-one, hand-on-hand combat, which I thought was kind of interesting. Although what was weird is I was like, oh, so is it like that episode of Star Trek where like people like computers would fight the war and then like people would go into suicide booths, but he was like he didn't mention that as an influence. So and then early next week I'm going to be running my best and worst games of the year pieces. Those will be up on Monday and Tuesday.
I am very excited for that.
A lot of scathing negative reviews of terrible racing games for some reason.
So as always, let's kick things off with a bite-sized review that would fit in a nice thread. Marcus, give me a quickie review of What If Season 3.
Wildly uneven. What if Marvel actually stuck to the premise instead of doing these season-long arcs that go nowhere?
Great. And Paul, what did you have?
Oh, I got to read this.
You wrote it.
While the third and final season of What If started slow, it got a real jolt in the middle and mostly ended strong. Mostly.
And I wrote, as a big fan of the What If comics and the first season of the Disney Plus show, I was disappointed in What If season 3. It had some fun episodes and performances, but as a whole, the creativity and writing were lacking. Paul, it sounds like straight away that you like this one better than Marcus and I did. Although I did find some entertaining episodes, but let's start on a positive tip. Paul, what did you like about season 3?
Well, for me, the best part about season 3 was the episode in which Howard the Duck and Darcy have a kid.
Yes.
It was
absolutely.
It was just the weirdest, funniest, just most out there episode they'd ever done.
Right. That's actually the next question. But I knew that was going to be your favorite for 3 reasons. I know you like Seth Green
Yes.
from Robot Chicken. He voiced Howard. I know you like Kat Dennings as Darcy.
Yes.
So she's awesome. And a Kiss song was prominent, and you're the biggest Kiss fan. So I knew this.
I'm not actually a big Kiss fan, and I don't like that song. But that song was used so well.
Yes.
And this is one of the sort of irritations that I have with certain directors within the MCU, James Gunn, is their use of their use and reliance on pop songs and rock songs, and how it sometimes seems like a crutch. And in this case, it just fit really, really well, especially when Howard and Darcy start singing it.
Right.
I mean, it was just such a weird, I don't know whether this was planned because they meet initially in an episode, I think in season 1.
Right.
Was it maybe the word comes to, yeah. It was just,
and they used a line from that. They brought a line from that because he randomly says, "Hey, do you want to go grab a bite to eat? There's half-price nachos." And he says it in that episode, and they brought it back for season 3.
Right. The other things that I liked, I love Captain Carter, so anytime I get to see her is a good thing. I really like Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher. And then, of course, there's kind of the payoff for the Howard the Duck Darcy episode, which was Natasha Lyonne as Birdie,
right?
Who I'm very hit and miss with her. When she's good, she's really good, and when she's not, I don't like her at all. But she was really, really good in this. She was as funny in this as she was when she did the voice of the turtle in that DC Pets movie. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
I did not. Is that the one where The Rock is Crypto?
Yeah. The Rock is Crypto, and Kevin Hart is the dog, Batman's dog, and Natasha Lyonne plays a nearsighted or maybe farsighted turtle who ends up getting super speed, and she's just hilarious in that, and as hilarious as she was as Birdie in this. So that's what I like.
She always gets a pass for me for being in one of my favorite movies, But I'm a Cheerleader. So I will give her the benefit of the doubt.
She when she's good, she's really good. It's just sometimes I just there's things I'm like,
right.
She did the first season of, I think it's called Dollhouse.
Yeah.
She was fantastic in that. I loved her in that. Second season, I was like,
Marcus, how about you? I know you didn't like the series as a whole, but was there anything you did like? Any silver linings here?
I liked the Howard the Duck episode. I thought that worked really well, although I'm not a bigger fan of Seth Green. I need more from my Howard. I need a stronger voice, and Seth Green just doesn't have it. He's got, he is diminutive in size. He is very talented, but I don't think he's a great Howard, especially when Kat Dennings is doing full Darcy.
Right.
You need somebody really strong to keep up with her, and I think that one failed. I was impressed on the Bollywood episode.
Yeah.
With Howard Stark directing, I thought the animation on the Bollywood scenes were absolutely fantastic. It's more bits bits from within episodes. I mean, the first one with the mechs and everything. It's like, all right, how to say we're doing a Gundam movie with a Gundam Marvel without using the word Gundam.
Right.
So that was interesting. The whole Bruce Banner splitting into his rage monster off. Interesting, but just kind of went nowhere. I mean, they just can't seem to make their minds up. If they are doing a full run through, full season arc, which comes to a denouement, and you have the Watcher tackling the Watchers, then do more, be better. Birdie was great. I got no problems with Natasha
Leon.
That's right. There's a McElhone. Yeah, there's two of them. Anyway, Natasha Leon, I think, is great. Ever since American Pie? I thought she was always been this droll, funny character. The fact that Birdie kind of came out of nowhere, unless I missed something, that you didn't see much of Birdie hatching to know that Birdie was this until the wings came out. It's like, oh, it's fucking Birdie. So that's who the character is. Okay. So yeah, you had the Western episode with Shang-Chi and Quicksilver. That was kind of interesting, but kind of went nowhere with the Hood. You had the first episode that went nowhere. You had Agatha Harkness's episode that went nowhere. Then you had the Quentin Beck episode where the Eternal Celestial had broken out of Earth, and it reminded me very much of several episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they had what was left of Earth after an explosion, but again, just didn't seem to go anywhere. And while I'm a big fan of Captain Carter, it feels like she's been in this from the beginning, and I'm all for Haley Atwell getting some residuals, getting some work. Okay,
right?
She's fantastic. She can't just be doing Tom Cruise movies. But it just felt like a chore towards the end. I mean, I had to actually look up from. I started to read while the episodes were on. That's how much of an effect they weren't having on me. And I devoured that first season. The second one with Mega Ultron / Vision with all time stones. That was at least funny because, I mean, he was chopping through every freaking universe. He was killing everything just for fun. And I can get behind that. I really can. Thanos is my totem. But again, that just felt a little got too long in the tooth by the end of season 2. So yeah, there's a lot I would have liked to see done differently.
We're skipping ahead
a bit. For a series finale, it felt like a damp squib.
So let's talk about some of our favorite episodes and performances. Both of you brought up the Howard and Darcy episode, which was also one of my favorites. But the whole series was very different from the way I approach comics. With comics, I always follow writers more than the characters themselves. But with this show, it was really following the actors. So, I loved seeing Agatha. Marcus mentioned that episode because I love both Agatha and Kingo as actors and characters. We have Darcy and Howard, and I love both these characters, more so Darcy. But I also really enjoyed the Red Guardian and Bucky episode because David Harbour just entertains me endlessly. I just love his enthusiasm. Looking forward to seeing him more in Thunderbolts. But for me, episodes 2, 3, and 4 were the peak, and then everything else was varying degrees of meh to well, that was certainly an episode. Paul, what did you like aside from the Darcy episode?
I mean, definitely like when you get the people from the movies to come back, it's always really cool.
Yeah.
I remember how excited I was when Hela came back because you were like, wait, Kate Blanchett is doing a cartoon? This is cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there is like a weird kind of thing about that, like where like you normally wouldn't expect somebody of that caliber to do something aside from maybe The Simpsons. So
And for the most part, I mean, most of the actors came back. I think out of all in the series, they did not get Scarlett. Downey is obviously too busy for this shit. They didn't get
they didn't
Chris
get Chris
Evans.
Evans, which I always thought was weird.
And
that one I kind of thought he would do this, but
they didn't get Captain Marvel either. But also, I think she's a bit too busy for this. But
she popped up in a few episodes in the first season, didn't she?
Not her though.
I'm
not
sure
it wasn't Brie Larson. I think it was somebody else.
Yeah, they've had stand-ins for all these actors. One of the things I'll complain about later is there was one voice actor I thought was really bad. But yeah, did any other episodes stand out for you, Paul?
I mean, the David Harbour and Sebastian Stan have good chemistry, so that was fun to watch that, even though I wasn't as into that episode.
I like the fear and loathing vibe of the whole thing.
Right. I also like Haley Steinfeld, so having her come back as Kate Bishop was cool, and I like Simu Liu. I think it's pronounced.
Yeah.
And the woman who plays his sister from the movie being like, it was that, that was cool seeing them together. Although again, I don't like Westerns, and that episode didn't really, excite me as much. I don't think there was anything else. The only thing I will say in defense, relatively speaking, of the Gundam episode is it was basically the best version of Pacific Rim, but it still wasn't good.
I just don't like Mackie as a lead, I think I think he's a good supporting character, and this is kind of why I'm afraid of his Captain America movie. I don't know that he works well as a lead. And I think that's why I didn't like the first episode as much as the others.
Interesting.
Marcus, did any performances or other episodes stand out for you?
Well, I mean, Kingo, he can't go wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, he brings it to everything. I mean, I'm so glad he was in Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Obviously not Kingo, but the actor who I'm just not going to try and mispronounce his name.
Kumail Nanjiani.
And Nanjiani, that's right, because the other Kumail is from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
I just never wanted to get them mixed up because I don't want to be that old guy.
I always call him Dinesh from Silicon Valley.
I never watched it. Shauna loved it. I didn't watch it. That TJ Miller just pisses me off.
I could see that. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought Kingo's performance was great. I thought the Simu Haley Steinfeld episode was a waste. I mean, it was novel, but it was just the show doesn't know what it is, and I think that's the problem. I mean, but if you look at the performances, I mean, I actually thought Natasha Lyonne was great as Birdie. She was a high point for me. Kat Dennings doing Darcy is, I wonder how much of that is actually her and how much of that is a character she's invented. One of my favorite lines in Thor: The Dark World is Mew Mew.
Mew Mew. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the few things that's one of my favorites in Thor: The Dark World. So yeah, I thought that they went. There were some really interesting ones. The Agatha Harkness. I mean, I was just so disappointed with Agatha all along.
Oh, wow.
That it really just ruined me. But I mean, again, I'm not perhaps the target audience, and I do accept that. But yeah, it just didn't feel. I mean, so episode 3. The Guardian, Red Guardian, and
Winter Soldier.
Bucky,
yeah,
it felt like, oh look, don't forget Thunderbolts is coming out. And here we have a wacky road movie with two of the Thunderbolts. You know,
Well, I mean,
like
a lot
Laura
of
Hardy.
the series was like that. I mean, the whole point of having the Hood was because she's going to be that character is going to be in the Ironheart series. So there are a lot of things that are kind of
But it's not going to be that version of the Hood. It's not the Wild West version of the Hood, is it?
right.
And
I mean,
again,
what
that's
if?
just going to confuse people. You know, if they've seen What If, like, oh, it's the Hood for the, oh, what? Hang on, it's Cowboy. What?
Right.
No,
But
Riri Williams
there isn't
is in Bob Tech.
there is an argument for having this show just be, you know, what if things, choices or occurrences in the MCU went differently? You know, that they kind of avoided, especially in this season. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there was, you know what I mean? Like, what if Thanos was never deposed or whatever? You know, like even like some of the early ones, like, you know, what if instead of getting, you know, whatever the Chris Hemsworth, no, not Chris Hemsworth. What if the Ravagers had grabbed T'Challa by accident and he became Star-Lord? Like, you know, it was sort of fun things like that. And this one kind of got away from that.
I agree. So I think that kind of leads us to our next point of things we didn't like about the series. And I think Marcus spoke to this greatly, where it wasn't sure what it wanted to be. Are you going to have the unified story? Are you going to have these good standalone stories? It kind of tried to do both and didn't do either very well, in my opinion. Do you agree with that, Marcus?
Oh yeah, it fell off its own roundabout. The first season was a no-brainer. Yeah, that you pick the way you pick it, the way you drop in the versions of the zombies, and I think it was Stephen Strange, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and I think that was a great all-encompassing because you had strong heroes across the board. Then it felt like, oh, and no disrespect to these heroes and these actors. By the time we got to 3, it was like, right at the bottom of the barrel here, guys. I don't seem to have much, and you'd expect better of, you know, the way they treat Shang-Chi and Hawkeye, and, you know, several of these characters. But perhaps that we shouldn't, based on how, you know, how they wrote for Shang-Chi in his movie. They couldn't get him right there. They couldn't give him a decent script. I mean, he's basically milquetoast background while the female leads, you know, ran away with it. So yeah, there's so much. I mean, while we were talking beforehand, there could have been, what if, you know, Black Widow didn't die on the Soulstone planet?
Yeah, what if that was reversed?
Yeah, her and Bruce went into domestic bliss. I mean, you know, that would be interesting. What if Thanos was killed by Ant-Man going up his bum and turning into Giant Man? I mean, you know, there's all these things. You know, there's stuff from the Marvels. We didn't get Miss Marvel in there. You know, there's just so many what ifs in that universe, and they have a good few hundred books, I think, all told across the decades.
Yeah.
Because I know it's been up and down. And as you said, Stream, before, you know, the books have been very uneven. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that could be mined. And you know what? When you get into season 6 or 7, then just finish it off. Wrap it up with this you know, little 3-arc storyline. Because it's like the final 3 episodes are like, oh, we're doing this and this, and he's under arrest, and what? That's it. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons the comics did so well is they took like major moments. Like they had an issue that I had as a kid. What if Jean Grey had survived? And they take pivotal moments like that and run with it. Whereas this felt more of like an Elseworlds thing that DC does, where they just give like alternate timelines, alternate characters having different powers. So it wasn't really, some of the episodes weren't really what if as much as they were Elseworlds for
well,
me.
last season they did 1602.
Right.
In season 2. And that annoyed me because 1602 should be that should be a Marvel series by itself. That's not a what if. That's a banging storyline there.
100%. I agree. Paul, what didn't you like as the most positive one here about What If
Well,
season 3?
This got sort of touched upon. Like I said earlier, I love it when the real actors come back and reprise their roles. When they don't, and you get somebody who doesn't sound anything like them, it can be really annoying. And the one that stuck out for me was Wong, who was only in it for like 2 seconds, but it wasn't Benedict Wong. And like, it was almost weird that it wasn't Benedict Wong, because he's literally done anything they've ever, like, he's turned up in like 18 different Marvel movies at this point, even if just for like 5 seconds. So like, the fact that he, for whatever reason, he didn't come back for this, I don't know why, kind of just threw me.
The one that bothered me was Okoye's voice actor. It just sounded like a really bad Denai Guerrera impersonation,
right?
And almost like someone you would hear on Hollywood Boulevard impersonating Okoye.
That's very funny.
It just pulled me out of the show, and sorry to that actor, but it wasn't very good.
I think what happened is the same thing that happened with Square Enix's Avengers game. We have gone for the last 12, 13, whatever it is years, and it was probably 10 years at the time, of listening to the Avengers talk a certain way. And instead of taking some of that marketing budget that they were spending everything on, and they went and got, the best video game actors that we could find. Well, they're very talented, but they are not Hemsworth, Downey Jr., blah, blah, blah. If you'd have gone and done that and just said, it's a couple of days read, we'll give you X amount, that would have made that game so much more enjoyable, because every time I hear the Hulk, every time I hear Thor, and it was, I am Thor, God of Thunder, and I sound nothing like Chris Hemsworth. I sound like some guy they got off Central Casting.
Right. I mean, their approach going into it was that these weren't the MCU Avengers; they were the comic book versions of the Avengers. Yeah. So, I mean, I totally understand your point. And in retrospect, their approach was not the best one. So, I mean, it's easy to see that as an expensive thing and say, we're going to do this, and then no one will recognize it. But
it's like buying a Ferrari, and it's not actually a Ferrari. It's only got 3 wheels, and it's a station wagon, and it's called Ferrari. And it's because it's all covered in fur on the inside. I mean, it just doesn't sound like, you can call it Ferrari all you want. That's not an Avengers game, and that's not the what ifs. I mean, if you were going to go ahead and do this then, and you knew that certain characters would be dropping out and unavailable, you do the first season, get everybody in, boom, boom, boom. Second and third season, I mean, where was fucking Ghost Rider? I mean, we've got 3 different iterations of Ghost Rider now. Obviously, OG Johnny Blaze, and then we've got another guy and a young woman. So why didn't we have the Ghost Rider?
I think that was a rights thing. Didn't they only get the rights back last year for Ghost Rider? Because I think that wasn't he part of the Fox deal.
The Johnny Blaze one, I don't think they had the rights to, but they had the rights to Ghost Rider.
Right.
The one they used in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Yeah. What's his name? Miguel.
I don't know. He's like the second one or the third one or something.
And look, I understand not wanting to use the Fantastic Four, because that's coming out, whenever, and they don't want to confuse things there. And so, I mean, there are lots of things you could do, but there are lots of things. They've got literally a whole universe.
That was my other kind of issue.
Books.
I mean, that was sort of my other issue, is that, like, I was sort of hoping we would see Deadpool and Yelena and She-Hulk in some form. I mean, where's Jewish Ms. Marvel? It practically writes and promotes itself, though probably not in a good way.
So I wonder,
but seriously, I would have liked to have seen. I know Ms. Marvel turns up in Marvel Zombies, but I still would have liked to have seen that.
So here's a shot of the Guardians of the Multiverse. One of the big deals is they brought Storm in, which is the first, I think, X-Men character to be reintegrated into the MCU. And they got
No
the voice.
Wolverine.
Yeah, okay, you're right. But they got the voice actor from X-Men the animated series. All the way on the right there is Kahhori, who was a big deal in season 2 of What If. They had a whole Native American character, and her episode was in native language. They also had an English version of that episode, which I thought was really cool if you go into the extras section. But she didn't really do a whole lot in this one. They made such a big deal about creating this character in season 2, and she gets to kick ass for a little while in season 3, but in terms of narrative, she doesn't do a whole lot. So it was almost like, yeah, what's the point of this character then, especially now that the series is over? How do you guys feel about how they treated her, and did she matter is, I guess, what I'm asking. Paul.
I feel like they might have bigger plans for her.
Really?
Yeah, but in the animated space. Like, I don't think they're gonna bring that character into the live action. But I feel like or maybe they will, I don't know. But I feel like they may have some kind of plan for her. And that's why they threw her into this sort of mix of people, which is admittedly a sort of weird mix of people.
That is a strange 4 right there.
You know, you've got one woman who's never been in the show before, one woman who's created for the two women who were created for the show,
right?
And then one who's been in it from the beginning. So,
right.
Although I do like the idea that it is 4 strong women, because every insecure man out there loves strong women.
Yes. Marcus, how did you feel about Kahhori in season 3? Did she matter?
She seemed to be there to open a lot of portals.
Yes. Yes.
Which would have made me think, why didn't we get was it Miss America or what was
right.
America
I was about to say America Ferraro, but that's not
America
right.
Chavez. Yeah, there you go. I mean, she perfectly, good character who we've only seen really in
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
And on Dancing with the Stars.
I don't think that's part of the MCU, Paul.
It's on ABC. It's canon.
So yeah, I mean, she was a take it or leave it character. I mean, I enjoyed her episode, the full episode. I watched it without the, with the English turned off. I watched the OG version, and I thought it was a breath of fresh air and fantastic.
Very cool.
But I think this time around, by the time we got to this one, it felt kind of pandery. Towards the end, I got no problem with 4 strong female heroes, but it struck me almost as if there's that line, the same line in Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War. In Infinity War, when Black Widow was about to get her ass kicked by one of Thanos' children. They say something that, oh, look at you all like you're on your own. Oh, she's not alone. And then Danai Gurira's character, Okoye, and Scarlet Witch turns up, and blah, blah, and they kick shit. And it was great. That felt really organic. And then you go to Endgame, where it was, oh, let's give Miss Marvel the fist. And the glove, and that's a whole different what if the glove. And it's like, can she get it? It's like, well, first of all, she's the most powerful character in the MCU. She could take Thanos down by herself, so I think she's going to be okay. And then just to see all these characters come out with, oh, she won't be alone again. I mean, you took what was organic and delightful in the first one and kind of just hit people over the head with it. And this kind of felt like that again, especially when this version of Storm came up with, with the hammer and everything. that felt a little bit unwieldy. And like I said, Haley Atwell, she's a national treasure, but this did not need to be What If Captain Carter had a comic show, a cartoon show of her own. So yeah, there are other characters I could have put in there. There are other characters you could have maybe put a male in there. I mean, I'd love to have seen Daredevil trying to cope with that, especially when they were giving them a celestial armor thingy and his nightsticks. I thought that would have been cool. But again, what do I know? I don't know what the ratings are. It's a shame it bows out like this. Jeffrey Wright is obviously fantastic as the Watcher, the hero. I actually wanted Jeffrey Wright to get his own movie spin-off when he was in the Bond films as Felix Leiter. Even if it was just a TV series, I thought he would have been brilliant in that.
If anyone hasn't seen American Fiction, he is fantastic in that.
Yeah, he's pretty much excellent in everything he does. Yeah, I thoroughly adore his work. So I think everybody who turned up did the best they could with the script, but I think the stories felt kind of tired. And when I'm looking at a list of what if issues, what if Rick Jones had become the Hulk? Well, Rick Jones hasn't been introduced in this version, in any of the Marvel universes. So we could have seen that one. What if Ghost Rider, Spider-Woman, and Captain Marvel were villains? What if the Invisible Girl of the Fantastic Four married the Submariner? I mean, obviously that's a fully different version of Namor that we got then to in comparison to Wakanda Forever. But there is, what if the Hulk had become a barbarian? What if Gwen Stacy lived? I mean, and I'm just on the first 30.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the first 30 books. What if Cap had been elected president? What if Wolverine had killed the Hulk? I mean, there's all these ones that they could actually really just go bananas with and turn them into something really, really amazing. And there's enough there, even accounting for a bunch of duds, there's enough there for maybe 5 seasons of pure what if.
No,
and you could perhaps maybe build in one key character that then you see, or say you got 5 series and we're going to pull one character out of each season. There's the building block or something that's going to be the character that's going to be used in the finale, season 6, which is going to be arcing. It's going to be the fall of the Watchers. But these folks are going to come through and we got this, we got that, we got and give them something a little bit sexier.
I will say this: I did like that it ended with the idea of other Watchers basically saying to the Watcher, "You've done fucked up, and we're going to take care of that." I don't think it was executed as well as it could have been, not nearly, but I did like that idea that's how we're going to end this series, with a story about the Watcher getting punished for what he did.
Right. But it didn't seem like physical combat was the way that Watchers would fight to me, where all of a sudden, I'm going to grow power gloves and here's my Watcher katana.
No. And in fact, the thing that I thought of when I was watching it was, and this might seem like a weird reference, I wish they had done it kind of the way Star Trek would have done it, which is they wouldn't have had people fighting. In fact, the phrase that popped into my head was the trial of Uatu, in which he has to defend his actions, both what he did and why he did it, or something like that. It's not the most exciting thing as watching like a bunch of people fight each other, but it's still, I don't know, that I think that would have been a much more interesting way to go about it.
That's much more compelling to me than a Watcher katana, the Watcher spiked mace that you went with for some reason. It just seems, these guys are on a different plane of existence. Literally, they're in the 5th dimension. Right. So having a bar fight in the 5th dimension just seems a little bit off.
Right. Well, it reminded me of that thing at the end of She-Hulk where she talks about how everything has to end with a really big fight, big CGI fight. And then they call off the big CGI fight. Like it's like I wish somebody like who was writing that episode and directing that episode had watched She-Hulk, because maybe they would be like, "Oh yeah, maybe we don't do this."
It would have been great if they used it to set up the Beyonder for the 2 Avengers movies, Secret Wars and Doomsday.
Yeah, but it's different. It's not the first Secret Wars that they're.
I know it's not the first, but it's not also not the second Secret Wars. Yeah, is it? Because there is no way that we know it's a doctor. It is Victor Von Doom.
Mhm.
And it's Robert Downey Jr., but it's not Victor Von Doom from the main MCU timeline.
Right.
So how the fuck does he get in there? That's why I'm hoping the Beyonder's involved in some way, shape, or form, and we'll see the battle world, and that's where he comes in from on the battle world, and we see some of the other characters, because obviously Monica Rambeau went through that portal at the end of Marvels, and she's in a different X-Men universe, and this Secret Wars is the one that can align all the timelines. And screw the TV, the Time Variance Authority. Their body is useless as a bag of chocolate dicks.
That could be useful for some people.
But I just think that again, if you're going to do this, you're going to be smart. I mean, yes, I'm criticizing them for their Red Guardian Winter Soldier episode, but at the end of the day, it was a blah episode. It wasn't very good at all. I mean, it was like that Adam Sandler buddy cop movie from the late 80s or the early 90s or whatever, with I think Damon Wayans.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
It did not show the character. You had the proper characters and the character actors. It did not show them in the best light. I mean, it's just.
I wonder if their thinking is, we don't want to introduce anything in this show that's going to impact the MCU. That it's like it's okay if the MCU introduces something and we explored in What If, but it's not okay to have something in What If, something significant. I mean, like Captain Carter is obviously a different story. You know what I mean? Like they didn't want to introduce the Beyonder in What If and then have it play out in the other movies.
They could have hinted at it. It's like, what's above the Watchers? Who watches the Watchers, to steal the pun from somewhere else? But what if the Beyonder is above the Watchers? What if he's a Road Watcher? What if he is Uatu? What if that's the Beyonder? Because he's got a taste for fiddling. He likes to fiddle with the timelines. He's a little bit of a flicker, a little bit of a nudger, a little bit of a pusher. He likes to get his little stubby fingers.
After he was talking about fisting Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. I actually want to go back to something Marcus said way earlier, in that he was not happy with Seth Green as Howard the Duck. Who would you cast as Howard the Duck? And I'll ask you, Marcus, and anyone watching, if you have ideas for who would have made a better Howard the Duck than Seth Green. I mean, there's so many ways you can go. The one that popped in my head immediately was Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito would have been good.
Yeah,
I think Gilbert Gottfried would have been a great Howard the Duck.
He's one of those guys that is he alive or not? I know he's alive.
I think he passed.
No, he isn't.
Oh, no, did he pass?
He passed away last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And we can say that now because it's one going your way. The first name that I thought of when you asked that question, Raymond, was Humphrey Bogart.
Well, that's not happening either.
I know. I'm just saying, if we're spitballing here.
I mean, who would be a really good one if he wasn't Peter Porker? John Mulaney. That sort of like, that's the East Coast, smart, but real. He's like, whether it be a Bostonian or a New Yorker, he's got that vibe about him. And I think, that's the Howard the Duck that we got. Unfortunately, it just felt a little too tame. I mean, he was duck-whipped.
I am anti-Mulaney for reasons that you know. So.
Yes, I know. He's banging somebody you hate. He's a very funny comedian. He's been through a lot. He was great as Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And I think he'd be a great. And again, not not besmirching Seth Green. I thought he was great in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He is so laconic, he's almost horizontal. And you need somebody with a bit more energy to really sort of like counter the Darcy
McFarland.
Seth MacFarlane would be, although I can't imagine Howard the Duck sounding anything at all, sound like anything at all, with the exception of Glenn Quagmire. Oh yeah, because Howard the Duck is a dirty old man.
Yes.
He gets a little horny and a little,
he's Randy.
flappy. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the line in Once You Go Duck? I don't remember the rest of it, but yeah.
Oh, and that awful movie.
Oh, with
No, it's in Guardians of the Galaxy. He says it to the girl from Castle. They're at the bar, and he's like, "Once you go duck," and I don't remember the rest of the line, but yeah.
I want to watch that awful Howard the Duck movie because I was watching Amadeus the other day, and I'm like, wow, the Emperor was in Howard the Duck also, as well as Ferris Bueller. What a strange career that guy has had. But why don't we close things out on this? This was the third and final season of What If. Marvel Zombies is going to be the next big animated thing. But nothing stays dead in comics forever. When do you think What If will be back? And let's skip that because we have a question from the audience. What do you guys think about Birdie? Do you think she should have used a well-known mutant instead of her? I am very pro Natasha Lyonne, so I'm happy with that character and her performance. And I just like how weird just Howard and Darcy having a kid that is super powered by the convergence is just, I just love how batshit that concept
is. Having a kid who turns out to be Warren Worthington III.
But with the power cosmic.
I mean, if that's who Marvel Shinobi's referencing is the OG Angel or even Archangel. No, I think Natasha Lyonne did a great job. I just wish that they'd done something more to connect the dots between the two episodes, because it's an egg. I was chasing this egg. And the Benny Hill show music. Boom. Oh, and that's it. And then all of a sudden, we've got a Natasha Lyonne character who is all piss and vinegar, which is perfect. In fact, she'd have made it better with the duck. But yeah, she comes out of nowhere. So, I mean, the fact that she got to really own Birdie, because it's not a character I'm familiar with. I know it was created just for the show.
They created her for the show.
Right.
So that's great. I mean, I think Natasha Lyonne has that Darcy in her, but also has what I would imagine to be the Howard the Duck, Boston or New York, East Coast, Weisenheimer. Hey, so have a nice day. Hey, fuck you. That sort of thing in her. I think she nails that.
And on a side note, I want to find these donuts where what does it do? They're like the reverse of carbs, these cosmic donuts. Like, I need to find these. I don't know if they need another mutant, because if you look at the four of them, they already have a very strong, powerful mutant. They have a super soldier. They have a mystic native woman. So if Birdie adds like the cosmic power thing, I think that covers all the bases. What do you agree, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would sort of say is I've been advocating for them to do a Howard the Duck animated show ever since they brought Howard in the first season. So, and now I think like if they had used that What If episode to do like maybe a mini series with them where you see Birdie growing up and then have her come back into the What If thing, it would have been cool. I mean, Howard and Darcy, married with children or something.
I'd watch that.
I think that would be really, really fun to have seen that. I because it was sort of like, wait a minute, who is Natasha Lee? Wait, and I had to like look it up, and I was like, Oh, that's the a bird. Okay, got it. Yeah, and it's especially confusing for people because they've already said Natasha is going to be in the Fantastic Four movie, and people were thinking she was going to play Alicia Masters, and now they're wondering, are they going to have her play Birdie, and how does Birdie fit into all of that?
Oh, that would be trippy. Wow.
Well, we know we're getting Galactus, right?
Yes.
Dave said we're getting
So-
Galactus, we're getting the Silver Surfer, but a different
A female
Silver
surfer.
um
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah.
So, Marcus, why don't I ask you this first? Do you think What If will be back? Because it seems like too good of a concept to let rest forever. I think in the hands of better creatives, we could get something really kick-ass.
I think, unfortunately, What If became a product of the previous regime at Marvel, who decided that more is more, more is best, more, let's do all this. And it meant the scattergun approach that we saw on a lot of the multiverse movies, TV shows. There was nothing elevating the content. Or elevating the characters. And so this is something that should be judicious. I would love to see it brought back. And I think bringing it back as a prep for Secret War or Doomsday might be really cool. Explore some of the things. But again, we don't know that much about Secret War. But yeah, if it's this asinine Secret Wars, Redux that was released. Fuck that. I want to see Battleworld. I want to see all these characters pulled in from the different dimensions by something, and then unveil your Doom. Because I know we've got Doomsday, but is Doomsday gonna pull the Beyonder through something or whatever? But if we end up going with the really bad Secret War 2, whatever it was, I think it's just going to be a disaster in the making, no matter how good the filmmakers are. So yeah, you could bring this back, take it back to its core.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Tackle the random stories, tackle the crazy shit. 6 episodes a year. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a heavy demand. I mean, we saw how good X-Men 93 was. We know Marvel Animation can bring it. X-Men 93 was great continuation of the series, not afraid to kill people and not pulling punches. And I thought that show was an absolute triumph. Really enjoyed it. And I think What If was, what if they hadn't missed the opportunity?
Isn't it 97?
Is it 97? 93, 97? Yeah, it's probably 97.
It's 97.
It's 97. It's 94. Because I'd have been 26 watching that every Saturday morning. So, yeah.
Marvel Shinobi says, I think What If will be back after a few phases. That could be a long time. Maybe they can introduce a few new characters in Secret Wars and go into their stories through What If. Paul, do you think it'll be that long? Do you think it'll be sooner?
I think, honestly, it depends on how well season 3 did in terms of the ratings. If the season did really, really well, then they will bring it back. If it didn't do really well, they'll just let it die. I mean, we do know that, as I said, they're doing Marvel Zombies. I have a feeling they're going to kind of do that stuff for a while.
Yeah.
What If presents Marvel Zombies? What If presents Kahhori? What If presents, Howard and Darcy?
Right. Well, I love Marcus's idea of doing 1602. That would be awesome.
1602, right? I mean, you could do 1602. I think that would work better. I think as an animated movie, still for Disney Plus, not as a mini, or maybe as a mini series.
Yeah.
But I think that they're gonna probably concentrate on that stuff for a while, and then
they're doing zombies for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, and then maybe kind of do, and then maybe like you guys were saying, like, when they have like a whole mess of other options to go to, they can kind of go, okay, well, let's see, what are the different things we could do? Well, what if the Eternals didn't find out that they were the bad guys? You know, okay,
Right.
we'll do that. What if Captain Marvel and the Marvels had failed to save the Earth? You know, and kind of, you know, what if Deadpool, you know, couldn't get Wolverine to come along?
It became flower arranging.
Hey,
Yeah.
you guys earned us a new subscriber.
Woo!
Congrats
You
to
know,
you guys.
But yeah, I think if they go back to it, it'll be a while. Like you guys were saying, it'll be a while when they have like more that they can draw from.
Right. So
And maybe the same thing will happen again. They'll do 3 seasons and then they'll take a break. And then, you know, when they're on phase 22, 23, and 24,
we'll all be dead.
But if it does come back, I hope it's like Marcus said, is where they stick to the core concept of discussing a change in one pivotal moment that turns out way differently, instead of trying to do this extended story thing where, you know, again, I go back to Kahhori, who I think could have been a cool character, but it ended up kind of being a nothing inconsequential character, which is a shame because there was potential there. I think that'll be a wrap for our What If Season 3 episode. Guys, if you are watching this after we're live, please share your thoughts on What If. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And please join us next week where Paul and I will be back. We'll be switching from Marvel to DC, where we'll be talking about James Gunn's Creature Commandos, the first entry into James Gunn's DC universe. Thanks for watching RPadTV. See you next time. Bye.